very good evening and welcome to the Mythical Ireland Library. This is Live Irish Myths, episode number 288. Tonight we are back reading P.W. Joyce's A Social History of Ancient Ireland. Last week we were talking about early monastic life. We're continuing on that theme. The development of early Christianity in Ireland. And I think you'll find it interesting. Of course, this is relevant to any study of early Ireland, especially in relation to myths, because of the great schools of learning that were attached to the monastery and the devotion of the scribes to the writing down, the transcription of much that was mythological material, as well as the ecclesiastical stuff, copies of the New Testament, etc., as we will, don't hit the microphone, Anthony, as we will undoubtedly hear as the evening goes on. You're all very welcome. I hope you're having a good day wherever you are in the world. Good to just shite a bit of lead on the subject. I love spoonerisms, spitty woonerisms. I'm going to shed a bit of light on the subject. Even if you are joining us, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, please do feel free to comment, ask questions, say hello, and your interactions will be shown on the screen, which is a big part of Live Irish Myths since we began live streaming this series on the 12th of March back in 2020 on the first day of the COVID pandemic in Ireland. Anyway, I'm going to say hello to a few people before we get started, and then if there are a couple of announcements, we'll make those and then get on with it. Helen Hirsch-Chader is actually the first in the house tonight, beating Elaine Dent-Lingenfelter to first place. And Helen says, hi, Anthony, and all the Tua. Hello, Helen. What a delight, as always, to welcome you into the library. Hope that you are in good form. Brax is saying, hi, Helen. I love this tune. I presume you're talking about the intro music, the countdown to the eclipse. Eclipses being important in Irish mythology and Neolithic monuments. I think Donna Ferrer, who's also on YouTube, the first of the commenters tonight on YouTube, is pleased that she can listen today. And we're always delighted to say hello to you, Donna, and to welcome you into the library. Elaine Dent-Lingenfelter, there she is, saying hi, Anthony, and all the Tua from a normal hot July day, 34 Celsius. That's 93 Fahrenheit. Wish I was there so I could get cooler. We had an interesting day. I was touring some of our ancient monuments in the Boyne Valley region with a group of Italian visitors. And in the middle of the day, it was 14 degrees Celsius. It was raining. It was a bit breezy and a bit wintry, certainly autumnal. But in the afternoon on the hill of Tara, the sun came out. The breeze died down a bit. The temperature went up to 21 Celsius. And it turned into a beautiful afternoon. And lots of people, I was really surprised actually at the number of people who were on the hill of Tara this afternoon. Lots of people bustling around. Some young families, of course, at this time of year. The school children are on their summer holidays. So some of the parents are lucky enough to be able to go for picnics and walks and things like that. But a lot of people milling about on the hill of Tara today, which is great to see. Hope if you were there, you enjoyed it. Wayne Bird says, good evening, Anthony. Hope everyone is safe and well. It doesn't matter how many times I see the moon and its phases. I think it was about 5 a.m. Sunday. Just fed the dog and let her out. And there she was, the last quarter. You just have to stop and look and wonder how much influence she has on the earth and its life. Yeah, likewise. 2 nights ago, I think, myself and Anne saw the last quarter moon rising above the rooftops. And Anne said, I don't know how long it is since I've seen the moon. It's been ages, and me too. I think I saw it one night before it was full. But you see, the reason for that is in the winter, the moon, the full moon, the as it were, the large phases of the moon are low in the sky. And where we are here, we're facing north. So we unless we're outside and out and about, we don't get to see it. And likewise, it actually had an nice effect. It was lovely to see. The moon, I always say, is a sort of a nighttime companion. You know, it's one of those things. It's like when you see it, you feel better. It, I believe, has an sort of an emotional effect on people, and always has had. And of course, it's light. You know, the light that it gives in the middle of the night is always nice. So, yeah, it was a lovely sight. 5 a.m. Feeding your dog at 5 a.m. Interesting. Our dogs get fed in the evening time. Rex Fortenberry says, greetings, weary travellers. Okay, I have to share this one. I went to the zoo yesterday and saw a piece of toast in a cage. The sign said it was bred in captivity. Yes. No, it's hilarious. Honestly, it is. Or the one, did you see the meme where there's two Romans and there's two Roman centurions, and one Roman centurion is presenting to the other uh, a loaf, a sliced loaf of bread, to which the other centurion says, "Wow, that's brilliant. That's the best thing since ripped up bread." Tuesday Thompson is wishing us a happy Mythology Monday, and the same right back to you, Tuesday. And I hope when Tuesday does arrive that it's a fine day for you. Just cleaning my glasses, which have a little bit of specks of dirt on them. Silent Pilgrim is saying good evening to us. Well, a very good evening to you as well, watching on YouTube. Hope you enjoy the live stream and the interactions. Adina Sparks is in the house, 98 Fahrenheit with high humidity. Hope everything's well. Ugh. Well, my Italian visitors were telling me that it's 40 degrees Celsius in Rome at the moment. And they described it as being like being in a hairdryer, you know, a hot, obviously, on hot setting. And it's like, yeah, I think I'll take the 14 degrees Celsius with rain, to be honest, you know. Gordon Farrell is saying, hi, Anthony. Hello, Gordon. Welcome to the live stream. Hope you're in good form. Donna has switched over to Facebook. Ah, interesting. Hope this stream is stable on both platforms. Alan Hoskins is saying hello from Ballina, Killaloe. Hope all are well. All in good form on this side, Alan. And likewise, I hope you're in good form. Brendan Byrne is saying greetings, Sir Anthony and Master Tom of the Smooth Road. A big hello to the Tua Army worldwide. And yes, a big hello to all our friends in Wicklow and Glendalough. In Glendalough. Hello from Colorado, says Auntie Joe. It is hot. 100 Fahrenheit and blue skies. Hope the mighty Tua is well and happy. That is like, yeah, that's 30, almost 38 Celsius. Warmer than it's ever been in Ireland. Mariana Dunn is in Alexandria, Virginia. A very good afternoon to you, Mariana. I hope that you're in good form. And Scott Doherty is wishing everybody a happy Monday. Happy Monday to you and to Bill. Kelly B is saying, hello, friend. Hello there, indeed, Kelly. What a nice, warm welcome. Fáilte. Kathy Maydeo, Sláinte Kathy says, good afternoon, Mr. Anthony and Tua. Hope you're all well. Loved the videos of your orchestra. Well done. Brass band, but close. Yeah. We had a big event over the weekend. A lot of hard work and practice, which culminated in a concert yesterday evening, and very enjoyable, and I hope you enjoyed. There'll be more of those videos, but they'll be on the Drogheda Brass Band YouTube channel, not the Mythical Ireland one. Evania Lee is saying Giagwich, Croiso Kia Ora from New Zealand. A very good morning to you, Evania. Early on Tuesday morning in your part of the world, where winter is slowly going to start giving way now to spring, while here in the Northern Hemisphere, summer is slowly going to start giving way to autumn. Tom King is in the house. Hello there, Anthony and the mighty, to a lovely day in the Boyne Valley. It's very busy at the forge. Time to rest for a while and enjoy the time. Where's me dram? I think you've plenty of choice in that department, Mr. King. Yes, indeed. Shay Payne says, hello, all, and Anthony, stay cool, lol. Yeah, well, some people, I think, will need that more than others. It's a reasonably nice evening here in the Boyne Valley, where currently Well, at Dublin Airport, the temperature right now, it's actually 21. It's still, it's quite warm. It's overcast now. Of course, the sun has gone in, but it's still quite warm. Who else have we got? Lots of people talking to each other, which is brilliant. Lexi Erickson is in the house. Hello, Anthony the Mighty, to Tom, Barbara Murphy, Joe, and all. Hello, Lexi. A good afternoon to you and welcome. Heather Marie Leaning is here, saying good evening to Anthony and Tom King. Good evening to you, Heather Marie. Hope you're in fine form. Few people laughing at the jokes. I honestly think that Rex's was funnier than mine. I don't know how I managed to keep a straight face when I read it out. And Shay Payne says, oh no, the lagging begins. Yeah, time to switch over to YouTube. If you're having lagging issues, that'll usually be on Facebook. YouTube stream is generally steadier than the Facebook one. Jacqueline Kelly Adams is here, saying, greetings, Anthony, and all from the Pacific Northwest. Raining here, settling the dust today. Yeah, sounds very Irish, Jacqueline. And yeah, we had a little bit of that today ourselves. Enjoy it, because, I mean, a lot of people are baking in hot sunshine and nowhere to shelter and nowhere to get cool. So we're lucky, I think. Linda Bird is saying hello from Maryland. A little cooler today than the last time I was able to pop in. Only 93. Only 93. Wow. Linda, I hope you're in good form. Great to see you. Vicky Wallace Southall is in the house. Hello, beautiful people. Hello to you also, and to Evan and Chile, if they are watching. A big hello. A very good afternoon to you from the Boyne Valley. Monica Regley has joined us from Switzerland with 33 Celsius. Wow, it's warm everywhere except Ireland and maybe the Pacific Northwest. Josie Weatherford is back in Dublin now. I'm missing the sheep already. Ready for some story time. Glad to be here. Well, we're always glad to have you here, Josie. Brilliant stuff. Valentina Bernardi, apologies, is saying good evening from sunny and hot Glastonbury. 30 degrees, 28 in the shade. Wow, that's quite a lot warmer than it is here. Enjoy that. It won't last too long, you know yourself. Nancy Wells Brewer is saying hello to all of us from Orinda, California. A very good afternoon to you, Nancy. Just past midday over there. I'm having trouble with my comment control. I'm clicking on them and then they're disappearing, and sometimes the wrong comment comes up. I don't know. Technology, that's all I can say. Michael Pike is in the house. Greetings, Anthony, and to hello, Michael. Welcome. Kathy May is telling us it's 62 Fahrenheit and rainy in Newcastle, Washington State. 62 Fahrenheit. That sounds kind of quite cool, he says with a high-pitched voice. 17. Yeah, okay, that's all right. It was 14 here this morning in the Boyne Valley. Vicky is saying that she would love some rain because there's smoke today from the wildfires. Evan is waving with Chile. Hello there. Greetings from Ireland. To everybody complaining about hot weather, says Silent Pilgrim, imagine Tom standing at his forge. Yeah. But he's there all year round, even in the winter. And, you know, I mean, I know there's heat from the forge, but there's a compromise to be made, because if you stand close to the forge, it's very smoky. So if you want to stay warm, you end up smelling very smoky. Judy McQueen says hello. Hello, Judy. Right back at you. I hope you're in good form. Anne McCallum is in the house. Good afternoon to you, Anne. Hope you're in good form. Monica is saying that she's going to escape the heat in a week and go to Scotland for about 2 months. Sounds like a good plan. You know, at this time of year, it'll be a lot cooler in Scotland than it is in Switzerland. Tom King says, correction, imagine Tom standing in the forge. Don't do that, Tom. We like you. We wouldn't like you to get hurt. Sorry. Yes, low and high pitched, voicey things going on. Yeah. So all good. Yeah, I did I tell you about the book that I'm reading at the moment? It's called "There's a Hole in My Bucket." Author Lee King. That definitely doesn't deserve a laugh. Anne McCallum says, "Hello, Antone and all the mighty two. I hope everyone's in good form. Had a wonderful time in New York for the Catskills Irish Arts Week, as always. Sorry I missed last week's episode, so very much looking forward to today's. It was sunny and 32 Celsius yesterday, but a bit cooler today at 29 and was raining, but now sunny. That sounds a bit Irish, but it's a lot warmer than here, like 8 degrees warmer. Uh, Cathy May is giving me, I think, a sympathy laugh for that joke. Yes, indeed. Elaine Lingenfelter is giving me a sort of a surprised face and then a laugh. Yes. Michael Pike wants to know if it's Chinese. Yeah, no, not Chinese. No. Um, yeah. Oh. So, is there news? Well, the only big news is that the Fornox book is being printed as we speak. I had an update today from the printers, who are Anglo printers in here in Drogheda in the Boyne Valley, to say that all going well, the book will be completely finished on Friday. John Inman is asking on the Mythical Ireland community, is there a tour going on? No, but there's a live stream right now. Yeah, Friday, all going well. Looking forward to finally having physical printed copies in my hands. So the official launch is on Sunday. You may have seen that post on the Mythical Ireland social media channels. If you're in Ireland and you can make it, do come along. It's sort of like an open invitation. The venue is the Highlanes Gallery here in Drogheda. That's in Lawrence Street in Drogheda at 1 p.m. on Sunday. And it'll be the first time I'll have held a book launch at the weekend. My book launches have always been on weekday evenings. So something a little bit different this time. And as with all these things, no matter what day or date you choose, there are always people who are not going to be able to be there for various reasons, and that's absolutely fine. But as I say, if you think you can be there, you're more than welcome to come along. There will be wine and soft drinks and a little bit of finger food. Yeah, come along and enjoy the social occasion. It's the first time I've been able to have an in-person book launch, believe it or not, since 2019. I think I was saying that last week. I launched 4 books during the pandemic and was unable to have an official launch event, an in-person launch event. So it'll be brilliant to see some of you there. Is next week the Lunasa episode? Oh yeah, thanks for the reminder. Actually, Shay, yes. Next week, I think the 5th, I think it's the 7th is probably, let me just check the Mythical Ireland 2024 calendar. Yeah, the 7th is the cross quarter date of Lunasa. So the 5th, next Monday, would be the. Oh, hang on. I'm in Sligo next Monday. I'm on tour in Sligo on Monday. I may have to postpone that episode to Tuesday evening. So just keep an eye on the social media for a postponement announcement. And I think, yeah, that anytime I've done a tour in Sligo, because the journey there and back again is 3 to 3.5 hours, I would have to be leaving Sligo at 4:30 to get home in time to do the live stream. So I'll probably do it on the Tuesday. Would I even do it on the Wednesday, I wonder? The actual day of. I have another tour on Wednesday, but it's in this area. Yeah. Let me just double check that. I think it's unlikely that I'll be live streaming next Monday. So next week's live stream will probably be either Tuesday evening or Wednesday evening. But keep an eye on that closer to the date. But thank you for the reminder that we should definitely talk about Lunasa, which we have done before, but no harm to do it again. And the harvest is in full. What's the word? Full flight? No, is that right? In full swing here in Ireland? The farm machinery is very busy. A lot of fields have been harvested, where a few weeks ago there were standing crops. Now there's just a stubble. Ali is saying hello from Tucson. Good afternoon to all our Arizonian friends. Whatever works, no stress, says Shane. Yeah, well, Shay, should I say? Yeah, we'll do what we can. Elaine says, "Oh no, it was going to be my first time to spend my birthday with you and the Tua. Oh dear. Sorry. Yeah. I could live stream from the car, but I know I've tried to do it before, and for some reason, from the phone, I'm not able to stream to both YouTube and Facebook. So that would be Facebook only. But yeah, sorry about that. But happy birthday in advance, Elaine. Another orbit of the sun completed. Another 1,000 miles clocked up on the engine. And of course, she's still taking over well, which is the main thing, And don't forget, as always, if you like what you see in terms of the website and the live streams and the tours and the photography and the videos and the podcasts and the blog posts and the emails, do please consider becoming a patron of Mythical Ireland and support the work of Mythical Ireland. The website address where you can become a patron is the one that's scrolling along the bottom of the screen throughout the episode. Thank you very much in advance. Okay, so last week we were, as I said, we were talking about monastic life and early Christianity, and we're going to continue where we left off last week. I hope you enjoy this, and I'm looking forward to all the comments and questions as we explore this aspect of history. And this section of the book is called Religion, Learning, and Art. Sorry, that's the chapter heading, which is a very long chapter. And this section is called the Second Order Monastic Clergy. Okay, are we ready? Good. In the educational establishments, teaching afforded abundant employment to the scholarly members of the community. Others again worked at copying and multiplying books for the library or for presentation outside. And to the industry of these scribes, we owe the chief part of the ancient Irish lore and other learning that has been preserved to us. Something we have said on many, many occasions. That it is thanks to the hard work and diligence of those scribes that a lot of our mythology was not lost, and that we know of the stories today. St. Columkill devoted every moment of his spare time to this work, writing in a little wooden hut that he had erected for his use at Iona, of which there are many incidental notices by Adamnan and other biographers. It is recorded that he wrote with his own hand 300 copies of the New Testament, which he presented to the various churches he had founded. Wow. 300 copies. I mean, that's extraordinary. Of the New Testament? Wow. No photocopying back then. There's a very funny meme I've seen on social media where there's a monk who's slouched. He's asleep on the slab, or whatever you call the writing desk at the scriptorium, and he's asleep. And another brother shouts, "Printers down!" Well, the Bowl St. Column Kill seems to have, I mean, he must have been exhausted. That is tiring work, you know. The concentration levels, it's physical and mental work to write carefully and steadily for long periods of time. And remember, as far as we know, the early Christian monks didn't have spectacles and they didn't have artificial light either. So he would have been writing in far from ideal conditions. All I can say is I hope they fed him well, you know. Extraordinary stuff. Ola Conrad is in the house saying hello from Denmark. Hello to you also, Ola. You're very welcome. Nora Gaffney O'Connor is in the house also. Jeeve Galair. I will just stand at the back here. Sure, no one will notice. Out of sight of the master. Yes, indeed. I haven't even noticed that you are late. Yes, indeed. Better late than never. That's what I say. Some spent their time in ornamenting and illuminating books, generally of a religious character, such as copies or of portions of scripture. And these men produced the wonderful penwork of the Book of Kells and other such manuscripts. Others were skilled metal workers and made croziers, crosses, bells, brooches, and other articles, of which many are preserved to this day, that show the surpassing taste and skill of the artists. And of course, if you want to see fine examples of those, they're housed in the National Museum of Ireland, the Archaeology Museum in Kildare Street in Dublin, and entry to that museum is free. You have to go if you haven't seen it. Highly recommended. So if you're planning a trip to Dublin at any stage, incorporate the National Museum into your itinerary. But this was not peculiar to Irish monks, as in the surpassing taste and skill of the artists. For those of other countries worked similarly. The great St. Dunstan, we know, was an excellent artist in metalwork. There you go, Tom King. Some of the Irish monks, too, were skilled in simple herb remedies, and the poor people often came to them for advice and medicine in sickness. When a monastery was situated on the bank of a large river where there was no bridge, the monks kept a curragh ready to ferry travellers across free of charge. A curragh or currach, a coracle, a boat, a basic boat, a, a cowhide covered boat, a cowskin boat made of, around a wicker frame. Maybe they had dugout boats too. I'm having had the wonderful Dr. Niall mind is totally blank. Gregory, the dugout boat expert on our Live Irish Myths in Conversation episodes, one of them anyway. I wonder whether the monks also made dugout boats. Well, there you go. They were providing basically a river taxi free of charge. Geraldus Cambrensis, Gerald of Wales, who we've spoken about on many occasions, in his Topography of Ireland, gives us an account of St. Bridget's perpetual fire at Kildare. Quote, among those wonderful things, the first to be noticed is the fire of St. Bridget, which is called the inextinguishable fire. Not that it cannot be extinguished, but the nuns and holy women watch it and and supply fuel so carefully that from the time of that virgin, i.e., St. Bridget, it has continued to burn through a long course of years, more than 6 centuries and a half. And that's the end of the quote. After the time of Giraldus, it was kept up till Henry de Laundres, the English Archbishop of Dublin, disregarding the local devotional feeling, put it out in 1220, the absolute bugger. But it was soon after relighted and continued to burn till the final suppression of the monasteries by Henry VIII. So it had apparently, we're told that the inextinguishable fire was burning at Kildare from the time of Bridget for 6.5 centuries. Wow. This custom was not peculiar to Kildare, but was pretty general in Ireland. For we find in the native records accounts of perpetual fires kept up in several monasteries, in each of which a small church or oratory was set apart for the purpose, as for instance at Sir Kieran, Kilmainham, and Inishmurray. Brendan Byrne noticed Nora's late entry and has apparently produced the Red Book. Besides the various employments noticed in the preceding pages, the inmates is a very funny word. I mean, they're monks. They're not prison inmates, but maybe that's how they felt at times. It was a very taxing, laborious work. They, as we saw last week, if you were in a monastery, you bloody worked hard, you know. There was no slouching or dossing, or what we might call mitching here in Ireland. Sorry, besides the various employments noticed in the preceding pages, the inmates had their devotions to attend to, which were frequent and often long. And in most monasteries, they had to rise at the sound of the bell in the middle of the night and go to the adjacent church to prayers. Wow. Going to bed and rising were, however, very simple matters. The monks merely lay down in their day clothes, except the outer coat, on their hard and comfortless sleeping places, so as to be prepared to rise the moment the bell struck, as some orders of the regular clergy do to the present day. Interesting, the idea of, well, they didn't have showers, they obviously weren't clean, probably got a bit smelly after a while. But one advantage of that is the ability to get up very quickly and not have to get dressed and all the rest. Yeah, but imagine, going to bed knowing, I don't know, some of you probably work shift work, so you know what it's like with an alarm going off in the middle of the night. But imagine going to bed knowing that there's going to be a loud bell ringing, at some point to disturb you from your sleep. I mean, would you even get a proper sleep? And then the sleeping conditions weren't exactly Hilton hotel standards. No soft mattresses and accoutrements, fluffy pillows and nice warm duvets and all of that. Probably straw beds, and some of them, as we saw last week, had to lie on the floor. Some of them lay on the bare earth. I mean, could you imagine what that would do to your body? I mean, you probably would get used to it, but I can't imagine it. God help any of the poor people in the world who have to sleep, rough and sleep on the ground and who don't have a comfortable bed to sleep in at night. Yeah, it's not. Well, I suppose to go back to my comment, a little bit of a rabbit hole here, just in case you didn't notice it. I know I'm just waiting for the rabbit hole comments to start. Yeah, no wonder then that Joyce calls them inmates. It was a strict life and not, by all accounts, a comfortable life. This section is called Conversion of England and Northern Scotland. Towards the end of the 6th century, the great body of the Irish were Christians, so that the holy men of Ireland turned their attention to the conversion of other people. Then arose, almost suddenly, an extraordinary zeal for spreading the gospel in foreign lands, and hundreds of devoted and determined missionaries left our shores. Yeah, Mavanway wants to know. Hi, Mavanway, by the way. Who gave Brendan the Red Book? Yeah, I know. I mean, and how does it teleport from, here in Drogheda in County Louth down to Glendalough in County Wicklow? Um, you know, um, it's here. It's right here in my hand. Brendan, do you have a fake Red Book? I'll have to open up another Red Book for people who use fake Red Books. Oh, Nora has COVID. Feeling a bit sorry for myself. Well, I hope you get well soon, Nora, and that it's not a bad dose. Keep well, drink plenty of fluids, and fluff up those pillows and get yourself nice and comfortable, something that the monks don't seem to have been able to do. And if you wanted to enjoy the odd mead, if you know what I mean, a dram or two. Tom has plenty of whiskey, by the way. If you want, he'll send you some down. I'm only joking, Tom. But yeah, keep yourself well. Get well soon. Good to see you here all the same, even though you're a bit under the weather. And says Tuesday Thompson, vermin in the straw bed at that. Not the best night's sleep. And I think we were talking before about, medieval lodgings and about hospitality, where the quality of your bedding would vary wildly. And, fleas were a thing. Flea infested beds, that you get up in the morning and be scratching all over, Wow. By a curious custom not found elsewhere, each chief missionary going abroad brought with him 12 companions, probably in imitation of the 12 apostles, of which the reader may see many examples in Lynch's Cambrensis Eversus and Reeves' Adovnon, but sometimes they went in much larger bodies. Interesting, though, isn't it? Not found elsewhere. That what would we call them? The proselytizers, those who were going to convert other people, brought 12 apostles with them. On every side, we meet with evidences of the activity of the Irish in Great Britain. Northern and Western Scotland was evangelized by St. Columba and his monks from Iona, and the whole western coasts of England and Wales abound in memorials of Irish missionaries. Fascinating. Numbers of the most illustrious of the Irish saints studied and taught in the monastery of St. David in Wales. St. Dunstan was educated by Irish monks in Glastonbury, as his biographer William of Malmesbury testifies. And there is good reason to believe that Cuthbert of Lindisfarne, one of the most illustrious of the saints of Britain, was a native of Ireland. Wow, there you go. Lanigan, in his ecclesiastical history, writes, quote, those early Saxon converts were not indebted for their faith to Augustine or the other Roman missionaries, who had not yet, i.e., at the time mentioned, arrived in Great Britain, nor to British preachers, whereas the Britons, as Gildas and Bede have complained, added to their other crimes the horrid sin of neglecting to announce the gospel to the Anglo-Saxon. On the contrary, the Irish, excuse me, one moment. I'll take a bit of a drink, and if you're wondering, it's water. Mavanwe says, focusing now, I heard St. David mentioned. Hang on a second. Do you mean to say that you hadn't been focusing before now? Do I have to open another red book for pupils who are not paying attention? So there'll be 3 red books. There'll be a red book for people who are late to lessons, a red book for people who are not paying attention in lessons, and a red book for people who use fake red books. This is descending into chaos. I can't have it. I'm going to have to start doing this on Zoom, where you all have your cameras switched on so I can see every single one of you to make sure you're paying attention, that you're not nodding off, or that you're not cracking jokes on. Oh, wait, okay, never mind the joking bit. Johnny Wilson is in Westport, heading to Galway in the morning. Brilliant stuff. Hope you're enjoying the West. Westport, a beautiful part of Ireland. I wonder, have you been up the Reek? Of course. Reek Sunday was yesterday, wasn't it? Were you, Johnny, were you climbing the Reek yesterday? Maybe tell us about that. Love it when Anthony loses it, says Nora. Is that me losing it? Yeah, fair enough. Okay. We are paying attention and eating bonbons. Well, come here. All I can say is, Back in our day, we wouldn't be allowed to eat bonbons in school, but I'll allow it on one condition, that if you have bonbons, you share them out. No. Nora started it by being late, says Brendan. Speaking of late, how are you all, says Theresa Collins. Leave the red book alone, Anthony. Yeah, I know I will. Honestly, I no intention of prolonging the use of the. I'm going to put it away as soon as I put your name in it for being late, Theresa Collins. Late. Punishment, detention. I must write out 300 copies of the New Testament as punishment. You missed that reference, so you'll have to rewatch the beginning of the episode to get a better understanding of why that's relevant. Yes, also Bilberry Sunday yesterday. Oh, alas, no Bilberries yet this year. Oh, okay, they're late. Of course, the weather varies so much that sometimes things are early, sometimes they're late. Yes, indeed. And we'll be reading about Bilberry Sunday and Reek Sunday in our episode next week about Lunasa. Where was I? Excuse me. On the contrary, the Irish clergy and monks undertook the duty as soon as a fit opportunity occurred, and have been on that account praised by Bede. It can scarcely be doubted that they were the instruments used by the Almighty for the conversion of those early Saxon Christians in Columba's time, and that with regard to a part of that nation, they got the start of the Roman missionaries in the blessed work of bringing them over to the Christian faith, unquote. Professor Anthony got his detention book out. Quite right, Kathy May. We're being interrupted left, right, and centre by people being late, people not paying attention, people using fake red notebooks, and people eating bonbons without sharing them out. Disgraceful carry on. You should be ashamed of yourselves. It is now admitted that England owes its conversion to Irish missionaries, partly from Iona and partly from the mother country, more than to Saint Augustine and the Roman monks. Saint Augustine, he was the one that was from Hippo, wasn't it? Is that Morocco or Algeria? Saint Augustine of Hippo, isn't it? 3rd century or 4th century, Saint Augustine. Am I right, or was he before that? It couldn't have been much before that if he was spreading the word of Christianity. Born 354, died 430. Yes, Saint Augustine of Hippo. But where was Hippo? I'm just not quite sure. Numidia, Roman North Africa, but where would that be positioned today? Rabbit hole time. Oh, he's buried in Italy, apparently. Where was or is Hippo? Sub-Saharan Africa. No, hippos. No, I don't Google. I didn't ask you for hippopotamuses. Where? Okay, somebody Berber country, Algeria. Mavanway says. Okay, maybe if I type it into maps, Google Maps, Google will show me where Hippo was/is. I typed Hippo, and it's giving me Hippo and Company removal and storage. Okay, Google Maps refuses to give me the information that I need. Yeah, somebody's going to have to find. I'm not going to be able to relax for the rest of the episode unless I find out. Annaba, Algeria. Let me just search for that. ANNABA, Algeria. So that's on the northern coast. Yeah, that's it. Yes. Facing across towards the island of, is that Sardinia? Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Thank you for that, Alan. I just couldn't have. Wow, hippopotamus, we're getting it all tonight, says Laura, unintentionally. Oh no, okay, I'll see if Anthony can tell me. What page are we on, Anthony? We're on page 337. Found us in Bridgeswell on Saturday. I said it was a cure for headaches. It said it was. Yeah, a lot of the Bridgeswells are a cure for the head or some part of the head, aren't they? Very interesting. Alva says, I've been here the whole time, just haven't said anything until now. Yeah, that's a very credible statement. Like, you're certainly not trying to suggest that you're sliding in late. I'm going to put your name in the red book anyway. How dare you? I'm joking. I did make it to Mass on Crowpatrick Mountain on Friday, says Johnny. Yeah, I wonder how many people climbed the Reek yesterday. Of course, volunteers over the last couple of years have been, what's the word, replenishing the stone pathway and creating steps to make it easier. Yeah, so I hope there was a big crowd there. It's an interesting one because it's a thoroughly sort of Catholicized or Christianized practice to climb the Reek on the last Sunday of July, but it is thoroughly also a Christianization of a much earlier ritual, as we will discuss next week. Nora says, I don't believe you, but that's a clever move for lateness. Yeah, just say, I've been here all the time, standing at the back of the class. This is the first time I've actually commented. This is getting a bit Monty Python now. Good. It means that there's entertainment value, because as I'm always saying, one of the solemn duties of the Shamakhi, the storyteller, was to entertain. No point in just reading and being boring. We have to make, we have to have a bit of crack, as we say in Ireland, Brendan Byrne rightly points out not so much of a red book now, but a roll of red wallpaper. I couldn't say it for a moment. Yes, indeed. For some reason, I click off the comment and then it comes back again. I don't know. My mouse is overactive. Where was I? It is now admitted that England. Where's my pencil? Oh. Pay attention, Anthony. It is now admitted. Take your own and put your own name in the red book for not paying attention. Anthony Murphy, detention, 1 hour. Maybe she was wearing her invisible cloak, says Anne McCallum. The Feth Fiona, yes, indeed. St. Clair of Assisi, says Vanni Ali, gets privilege of poverty. Then Gregory IX gave Clare counter move, issued a papal bull removing the friars as chaplains. I tell you what, them popes issuing their decrees, they were something else to deal with. It is now admitted that England owes its conversion to Irish missionaries. Oh, I read that, didn't I? Partly from Iona and partly from the mother country, more than to St. Augustine and the Roman monks. Interesting stuff. I've spoken before about St. Augustine's City of God. I tried to read it. I got about 50 pages in and I just thought, no, I just can't do this. This is just, yeah. For reasons that I might talk about at some point. I think I probably did mention some of them before. Quote, St. Augustine arrived in England in 597, writes Bishop Reeves. Wait, didn't we just read on Wikipedia that he died in 430? Are we talking about a different St. Augustine? Was there another St. Augustine, the proselytizer? Barbara Murphy points out, or red toilet paper. Barbara Murphy, I don't remember reading your name out at the beginning of the episode. Did you sneak in late by any chance? There were two, says Mavanway. Okay, right. So this is a different St. Augustine. This is not the author of City of God against the pagans, Augustine of Hippo. This is a different St. Augustine. And Paulinus was ordained Archbishop of the Northumbrians in 625, but Christianity made little way in the province till Aidan began his labours in Lindisfarne in 634. And of course, Lindisfarne off the coast of Northumbria, which was an area that was ruled in the first millennium AD at times by Irish kings. So a very strong links there for the Irish. Of course, St. Aidan was an Irish saint. He was an Irishman descended, said this is St. Aidan. St. Aidan was an Irishman descended from the same kingly race as St. Bridget. He was educated at home, like so many of his countrymen, and like so many of his countrymen, entered the monastery of Iona. After some time, he was commissioned by the abbot and monks to preach to the Northumbrian Saxons at the request of their good King Oswald that a missionary might be sent, this king being himself a zealous Christian who had spent some years in exile in Ireland, where he had been converted and received his education. There you go. Aidan, who had, so that's King Oswald, educated in Ireland, and of course converted, because at that time you likely couldn't get what was called an education unless you converted, and that's a practice that continued right into the 20th century, that you couldn't get an education in Ireland unless you were Catholic, or at least you had to be a professing Catholic to attend a Catholic school, and most schools were run by Catholic orders. Aidan, who had been consecrated a bishop, chose as his place of residence the little island of Lindisfarne, where he founded the monastery that became so illustrious in after ages. So that's, yeah, Aidan, Saint Aidan, founded Lindisfarne, off the coast of Northumbria. For 30 years, from 634 to 664, this monastery was governed by him and by two other bishops, Finan and Colman, in succession. Aidan, assisted by a number of his fellow countrymen, laboured zealously and with wonderful success among the rugged Northumbrian pagans. They're not just pagans in Northumbria in the 7th century, folks. They're rugged pagans. Wow. Quote, many of the Scots, unquote, writes Bede, quote, came daily into Britain, and with great devotion preached the word to those provinces of the English over which King Oswald reigned, unquote. These earnest men had the hearty cooperation and support of the king, of which Bede has given an interesting illustration in a passage where he tells us that St. Aidan, on his arrival in Northumbria, was only imperfectly acquainted with the language. King Oswald, who had learned the Irish tongue while in Ireland, often acted as his interpreter to the people. Wow, fascinating stuff. Which goes to show the sort of standard of education that was given in Ireland at the time. Now, let me just quickly pop up. Wizards are never late, Helen points out. Exactly. So why is there a red book? You know. So, folks, the obvious thing to do, apart from to pretend that you were in the room from the beginning, is to say, I'm late, but a wizard is never late, nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to. And then you're forgiven. There'll be no mention of names going into the red book. No, sir, I was early in the hello section. You just missed my hello. You must have been hidden. Really? Do you want me to go back and check? No, I'm joking. Barbara, you are always very welcome. I thoroughly believe you 100%. Honestly, I wouldn't doubt you for a second. Yes, indeed. Mavanway says, this is the other St. Augustine. In the late 6th century, a man was sent from Rome to England to bring Christianity to the Anglo-Saxons. He would ultimately become the first Archbishop of Canterbury, establish one of medieval England's most important abbeys, and kickstart the country's conversion to Christianity. Yeah, so definitely not St. Augustine of Hippo, who was already dead by a century and a half, by the sounds of it. Now, Nora is saying brilliant response, but because that comment was made a few minutes ago and was probably, because I don't see your comments for at least a minute or two after you make them, I don't know what that's about. So I'm sure there'll be an explanation. St. Clare and Francis had their own order, says Evania Lee. Yes, indeed. This is appreciated, says Lexi, since I had stopped reading this book a few years ago after Christianity was introduced. Patrick died 461 AD, says 322 Messenger. Are you late? Don't remember you being here before. That's complete humor. We've been talking about the Red Book. Patrick, yes, that's Patrick in 461. Yeah, almost 30 years after he lit the Paschal fire. Alva Kelly is declaring that she is a rugged wizard. Brilliant. Barbara is saying it is obvious that the roughly 25 of us regularly here, and probably the same number on YouTube, are all brilliant people, as we are all here. Yes, indeed. No need for discussions of people being late. This is not a strict lecture. There isn't going to be an exam afterwards, although maybe someday I should do that. Brilliant response was Barbara's epic reason/excuse. Yes, indeed. Wizards always arrive on the 5th day around sunrise. Rather predictable. At dawn, on the 5th day, look for my coming. In the east. At sunrise. Yes, indeed. Brilliant. Where am I now? I've lost my place. Montalembert, in his account of this mission, writes, quote, 48 years after Augustine and his Roman monks landed on the shores of pagan England, an Anglo-Saxon prince, Oswald, invoked the aid of the monks of Iona in the conversion of the Saxons of the north. The spiritual conquest of the island, Britain that is, abandoned for a time by the Roman missionaries, was now about to be taken up by the Celtic monks. Saskia is certainly making her voice heard this evening. The Italians under Augustine had made the first step, and the Irish now appeared to resume the uncompleted work. What the sons of Saint Benedict could only begin was to be completed by the sons of Saint Columba. Wow. So Irish, yeah, making a margin note. Sorry, I'll be with you in a moment. What did the Romans ever do for us? What did the Irish ever do? Ulla is telling us Augustine of Canterbury, Christian monk who became the first Archbishop of Canterbury, he is considered the apostle to the English. Well, there you go. That makes sense, doesn't it, given what we've been reading? Yeah, absolutely. Mavanre says, I think the Red Book came out to scare us. Black Book wasn't cutting it. A recent distinguished writer, remember this book was published in 1903, belonging to the Anglican Church, Dr. Lightfoot, I always find some English names very funny, Bishop of Durham, is even more explicit on this point. Having remarked that Iona was the cradle of English Christianity, he quotes Montalembert, yes, Anthony, Montalembert, as saying, is that Montalembert, or is it, am I right? I'm looking at that and I'm thinking there's a French derivation there. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's Montalembert. But oh no, says Desiree, Anthony missed my hello. What a likely story, Desiree. Yeah, I've been here since the beginning of the episode. Looks like I've missed a few hellos this evening. Desiree, I couldn't possibly chide you in any way. You're just too nice, so I couldn't possibly give out to you for being late, and I couldn't even possibly imply or insinuate that you're late, because you definitely aren't. Well done, you. Brilliant. Mike Grealish is listening in from Auckland in New Zealand. Brilliant stuff, Mike. You're very welcome to Live Irish Myths. Hope you're enjoying the stream, and there's a little bit, there's a bit of education and a bit of comedy as well. A very good Tuesday morning to you. You are, I believe, our second viewer from New Zealand this morning. It's still Monday evening here in the Western Hemisphere. It's Monday afternoon in the States. but you're way ahead of us, and I hope that you're in good form on that side of the world. Put him in the book, says Brendan. No, says Desiree, it was just 2 minutes ago when the dogs started fussing. Yeah, you're talking about my dogs. I know, right? Because just they're happy, and then all of a sudden they just start making noise. Sorry, to scratch that itch. Now, where was I? He quotes Montalembert as saying, quote, of the eight kingdoms of the Anglo-Saxon Confederation, that of Kent alone was exclusively won and retained by the Roman monks, unquote. The following are the words of Dr. Lightfoot himself, speaking of Aidan, that is Saint Aidan, the Irish saint. Quote, though nearly 40 years had elapsed since Augustine's first landing in England, Christianity was still confined to its first conquest, the southeast corner of the island, the Kingdom of Kent. Then commenced those 30 years of earnest, energetic labour, carried on by those Celtic missionaries and their disciples, from Lindisfarne as their spiritual citadel, which ended in the submission of England to the gentle yoke of Christ, unquote. Again, he claims, quote, for Aidan, the first place in the evangelization of our race. Augustine was the apostle of Kent, but Aidan was the apostle of England. Wow. So that comment earlier shared by Ola about Augustine being a apostle to the English, it's an interesting one, isn't it? That Aidan probably proselytized and converted more of the Anglo-Saxon English than Augustine had done. But perhaps because of his Irishness, maybe it's not that popular to acknowledge that. I'm just wondering. Amadeus likes to think they know when he tuned in. That's it. That's when they started making noise. What can I say? They have a sixth sense. Paul Byrne says the Kingdom of Northumbria considered breaking away and forming the Celtic Church along with the Irish, Scottish, Manx, Cornish, and Welsh. Rome was unhappy to lose so much of the family and enticed the mentioned back. A synod convened, formalized in the old Abbey Drogheda. Wow. The Northumbrians and the rest mentioned came back into the fold. The prefix Roman was added to denote the Roman Catholic families were happy again. Wow, amazing stuff. There you go. Sorry, that comment disappeared because that's what seems to keep happening tonight. Thank you, Desiree. Always delighted to have you along and to welcome the canines. Of course, all of you who have canines. Whose dog is it that's called Main Squeeze Louise? I just think that's very funny. That's a great name for a dog. Yeah, and all the woofers, you're all very welcome. In the early Christian ages, communication with Rome from Ireland was always difficult and tedious. Well, it didn't have telephones back then, and it was a long way away. For generations, indeed, it was almost impossible, on account of the disturbed state of the intervening countries, caused by the eruptions of the northern hordes, who formed an impassable barrier between the Western Islands and Italy. Accordingly, information regarding alterations in disciplinal matters made from time to time by the authorities in Rome took long to reach these islands. And when tidings of them did come, their genuineness or the duty of complying with them was often open to question. Yet, during all this time, it is interesting to observe with what unfailing and, as it were, instinctive reverence the Irish, as well indeed as the British Christians, looked to Rome as the centre of authority. During the 6th, 7th, and succeeding centuries, Irish pilgrims, both lay and clerical, were constantly going to Rome, as we know by the testimony not only of native records, but also of many foreign writers. Ricemarsh, Bishop of St. David's in the 10th century, in his Life of St. David, speaks of, quote, the inextinguishable desire of the Irish of the early centuries to visit the relics of the apostles St. Peter and St. Paul at Rome. In one of the canonical decrees attributed to St. Patrick, or if not by him, issued by the Irish bishops soon after his time, a direction is given that when any difficult religious question arose in Ireland which could not be settled at home, it should be referred to the chair of St. Peter. There is at least one interesting instance where this was actually done, namely during the time of the dispute about celebrating Easter, when the Irish method differed from that of Rome. We've mentioned, of course, the Synod of Whitby on many occasions in the past. About the year 630, some wise and learned men were sent by the Irish ecclesiastical authorities to Rome, quote, as children to their mother, unquote, says the old record, to ascertain for a certainty what the practice was there. After an absence of 3 years, they returned and declared that the Roman custom was followed by the whole world and that the Irish custom was wrong. On this, the people of the southern half of Ireland adopted the Roman method, but those of Iona and the north of Ireland clung for some time longer to their old custom, having received no authoritative decree on the matter. And that was all settled. I hope I'm not going to be repeating myself shortly. I don't think so. But that was all eventually settled at the Synod of Whitby, which I think was 664. It was definitely the 660s. I think it was 664. Synod of Whitby, do a quick Google search. 664, yes, indeed. And this little section is called Missions to Foreign Lands. Whole crowds of ardent and learned Irishmen travelled to the continent in the 6th, 7th, and succeeding centuries, spreading Christianity and secular knowledge everywhere among the people. Secular knowledge, interesting. What, says Eric of Auxerre, 9th century, in a letter to Charles the Bald, quote, what shall I say of Ireland, who, despising the dangers of the deep, is migrating with almost her whole train of philosophers to our coasts, unquote. A characteristic still more distinctive of the Irish monks, writes Montalembert, as of all their nation was the imperious necessity of spreading themselves without, of seeking or carrying knowledge and faith afar, and of penetrating into the more distant regions to watch or combat paganism, unquote. And a little further on, he speaks of their, quote, passion for pilgrimage and preaching, unquote. Quote again, not England or Scotland only, unquote, writes Dr. Lightfoot, open quote again, but large parts of the continent were also Christianized by those Irish missionaries, either from their adopted home in Iona or from their mother country, unquote. For our knowledge of those noble and devoted missionaries, we are indebted almost wholly to foreign sources. For once they left their own country, the native Irish annalists made no record of them except in a very few cases. These men, on their first appearance on the continent, caused much surprise. Our chief methods are surprise, a ruthless devotion to the Pope, and some funny red cloaks. These men, on their first appearance on the continent, caused much surprise. They were so startlingly different from those preachers the people had been accustomed to. They generally, as we have said, went in companies. They wore a coarse outer woolen garment, in colour as it came from the fleece, and under this a white tunic of finer stuff. Wow. They were tonsured bare on the front of the head, while the long hair behind flowed down on the back, and the eyelids were painted or stained black. Early medieval Goths, maybe. I don't know. Each had a long, stout cambuta, or walking stick, and slung from the shoulder a leathern bottle for water, and a wallet containing his greatest treasure, a book or two, and some relics. They're my kind of pilgrims. Yes, books. They have to bring a little library with them. Anne McCallum says, don't forget fear. Fear and surprise are our three ruthless devotion. I think we went down our own rabbit hole without Anthony, says Desiree. Um, yeah. Mythflix is like the Mad Hatter's Tea Party, but with drams, says Desiree. Glad you're all having fun. And there will be a test at the end of this episode, definitely. Because I don't think any of you are paying attention. You're having far too much fun. Where? Oh, I'm after losing my place. Kambutta, interpreter, blah, 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 some relics. Yes, a book or two and some relics. They spoke a strange language among themselves, used Latin to those who understood it, and made use of an interpreter when preaching. But when they settled down for any length of time, they learned and used the native dialect, as for instance, Saint Gallus, the patron saint of Saint Gall in Switzerland. There you go, Monica. For writing purposes, they used pugillares. Yes, Pugillales, or waxed tablets. Irish polera, polera, P-O for L-A-I-R-E. Wow. Sort of like the iPads of their day, maybe. They just couldn't upload their New Testaments to the cloud. Few people have any idea of the trials and dangers they encountered. Most of them were persons in good position who might have lived in plenty and comfort at home. They knew well when setting out that they were leaving country and friends probably forever, for of those that went, very few returned. Once on the continent, they had to make their way poor and friendless through people whose language they did not understand, and who were in many places 10 times more rude and dangerous in those ages than the inhabitants of these islands. And we know, as a matter of history, that many were killed on the way. Yet these stout-hearted pilgrims, looking only to the service of their master, never flinched. They were confident, cheerful, and self-helpful, faced privation with indifference, caring nothing for luxuries, and when other provisions failed them, they gathered wild fruit, trapped animals, and fished with great dexterity and with any sort of next-to-hand rude appliances. They were rough and somewhat uncouth in outward appearance, but beneath all that they had solid sense and much learning. Their simple ways, their unmistakable piety, and their intense earnestness in the cause of religion caught the people everywhere, so that they made converts in crowds. Tom Duffy is saying hello from northeastern US. Hello, Tom. Good afternoon to you, and welcome to Live Irish Myths. Yeah, Movanwe says that sounds a bit mad. I'm thinking mullet hairstyle with heavy eyeshadow. Yeah. Irish professors and teachers were in those times held in such estimation that they were employed in most of the schools and colleges of Great Britain, France, Germany, and Italy. The revival of learning on the continent was indeed due in no small degree to those Irish missionaries. And of course, that is a major thesis of the book that is called How the Irish Saved Civilization by Thomas Cahill. And the investigations of scholars among the continental libraries are every year bringing to light new proofs of their industry and zeal for the advancement of religion and learning. To this day, in many towns of France, Germany, Switzerland, and Italy, Irishmen are venerated as patron saints. Nay, they found their way even to Iceland, for we have the best authority for the statement that when the Norwegians first arrived at that island, they found there Irish books, bells, croziers, and other traces of Irish missionaries, whom the Norwegians called papas. Wow. But the most interesting and decisive notice of the connection of the Irish with Iceland is by the Irish geographer Dicul. No, I don't know how to pronounce that. Is that he's Irish, so Dicuil Dicul, in his work De Mensura Provinciarum Orbis Terrae, where, writing in 825, he states that about 30 years previously, i.e. in 795, he was told by some Irish ecclesiastics who had sojourned in Iceland from February to August that in midsummer the sun hardly sets there, so that people have sufficient light to transact their ordinary business all night through. All night long, do 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 do. All night long, do 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 do. Doodle doodle do do do. Okay, stop that, Anthony. Europe, stop that now. That's silly. Europe was too small for their missionary enterprise. We find a distinguished Irish monk named Augustine in Carthage in Africa in the 7th century. Another, this one without an E at the end, St. Augustine, in the 7th century, and a learned treatise by him written in very elegant Latin on the, quote, wonderful things of the sacred scripture, unquote, is still, pardon me, is still extant and has been published. During his time also, 2 other Irish monks named Byton and Meinkine laboured in Carthage. There were settlements of Irish monks also in the Faroe and Shetland Islands. Jeez, these guys were all over the place. All over the continent, we find evidence of the zeal and activity of the Irish missionaries. 12 centuries after this host of good men had received the reward they earned so well, an Irish pilgrim of our own day, Ms. Margaret Stokes, traversed a large part of the scene of their labours in southern Europe, and in a loving and reverential search for relics and memorials to them, and how well she succeeded, how numerous were the vestiges she found: abbeys, churches, oratories, hermitages, caves, crosses, altars, tombs, holy wells, baptismal fonts, bells, shrines, and croziers, beautiful illuminated manuscripts in their very handwriting, place names, passages in the literatures of many languages, all with their living memories, legends, and traditions still clustering round them. She has recorded in her 2 charming books 6 months in the Apennines and 3 months in the forests of France. May she be welcomed by those she revered and honoured. The Irish passion for pilgrimage and preaching never died out. It is characteristic of the race. This is a quote. Part of it is a quote. This great missionary emigration to foreign lands has continued in a measure down to our own day, for it may be safely asserted that no other missionaries are playing so general and successful a part in the conversion of the pagan people all over the world, and in keeping alight the lamp of religion among Christians as those of Ireland. Take up any foreign ecclesiastical directory or glance through any newspaper account of religious meetings or ceremonies or bold missionary enterprises in foreign lands, or look through the names of the governing bodies of universities, colleges, and monasteries in America, Asia, Australia, New Zealand, all over the world, and your eye is sure to light on cardinals, archbishops, bishops, priests, principals, professors, teachers, with such names as Moran, O'Reilly, O'Donnell, McCarthy, Murphy, Walsh, Fleming, Fitzgerald, Corrigan, O'Gorman, Byrne, and scores of such like, telling unmistakably of their Irish origin, and proving that the Irish race of the present day may compare not unfavourably in missionary zeal with those times of old. As the sons of Patrick Finnan and St. Columkill took a leading part in converting the people of Britain and the continent, so it would seem to be destined that the ultimate universal adoption of Christianity should be mainly due to the agency of Irish missionaries. Wow. And thus ends this evening's reading, because that's the end of that lengthy section. And a nice, I think, a nice finishing point, not the finish, of course, of the overall reading, but just the finish of tonight's episode. So the plan would be next week to devote an episode to Lunasa, but as I was saying too, who was asking me? Was it Paul? That next week I'll probably not be able to live stream on Monday, so next week's live stream will probably be on Tuesday evening. I will announce that beforehand, of course. Let me just catch up on some of the comments and the questions, if there are any. Gaelcore Productions is saying the Irish church texts are nearly complete. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. Might expand on that one a little bit for us. Yeah, any thoughts? Yeah, we're going to be doing an episode on that next week, Ola. We're going to be talking about old Lunasa traditions. It's stuff that we've probably done before, but like it's that time of year. I can't believe Brown Trogan is just around the corner. It's really unbelievable. You can't stop now. I have 3 bonbons left, says Lex. You must save them for next week or distribute them, Wow. Make sure you brush your teeth afterwards. You're going to go into a sort of a sugar slump now after the episode's finished, Lexi, aren't you? And there's a lovely illustration, says Mavanway, of a shrine preserved in the Copenhagen Museum made by an Irish artist. Wow. Fantastic stuff. They really did have quite a wide influence. I often wondered was it to do with people through poverty being fed based on conversion? Yeah, I know. You'd wonder, wouldn't you? Archaeologists have dug up graves on Iceland. This is Kathy May. That were buried during the Viking Age in a Viking village there. They found Irish DNA in the remains. Not surprised at all. We live on an island, and rather than being insular, we seem to have always kind of wanted to sail out into the world to see what everyone else was doing, I'm just trying to catch up. Tom Duffy wants to know, did the monks live in beehive huts? I've heard this before, but not sure. Some of them did. I mean, there are beehive huts, for instance, on Skellig Vical, Skellig Michael. But as we've been saying, in the larger monasteries, especially on the mainland, a lot of them sort of lived in the monastery and slept in communal areas, which were the sort of equivalent of what do they call them? What do you call it when multiple people sleep in a dormitory? Yeah. And not in very nice conditions, it seems. Only in certain cases did they live in beehive huts. I think not an expert on this, so perhaps there are other people who are better informed. Helen is heading off. Helen, have a great week, and we'll see you hopefully next week for the Lunasa episode. Monica is saying, I don't know if I'll have access to Wi-Fi in the way Scotland next week. Hope I can join the reading. Well, if you can, brilliant, Monica. But if you can't, don't worry about it, because look, if you're traveling, hang on, what am I saying? There's no excuse. Everybody must be at all times. No, I'm only joking. I'm just thinking about, those hardy, robust Christian pilgrims who left Ireland to go into areas of Europe that were, quite what we might call dodgy areas, where there was different language and probably a lot of criminality, and where their lives were literally at risk. So I think Monica can find Wi-Fi on our way to Scotland. I'm joking. Kathy May says, thank you, Mr. Anthony. Enjoyed as usual learning and having fun with you on the tour. Have a wonderful and safe week all. Don't forget your pointy stick next week, Mr. Anthony. Yes, I think I'm going to have to introduce a stick. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a stick and a red book. From what I've read, says Mavanway, things were pretty grim in the 5th, 6th century and most of the early medieval times, really. Christianity gave people hope. There was a lot of chaos after the fall of the Roman Empire. Don't forget what we've been saying recently, too. The work of the late, great Mike Bailey, the dendrochronologist, in telling us just how big an event, a climate event, occurred around 535, 540 AD, which coincided with the Justinian plague. and the skyrocketing of the foundation of churches in Ireland at that time. Yeah, interesting. I wouldn't like to have lived back then at all, you know. Um, Adam wants to know if I can shout out to his friend Nick Gers, who's dying of cancer. Oh, that's terrible. Well, hello to Nick. Um, and the Tua are capable of many, many powerful things. So there you go. Send all your good vibes and energy to Nick, and hopefully you can maybe work a miracle, but hopefully at least make him comfortable. Um, it was literally the Dark Ages. Yeah, you know, I mean, if you were going back in a time machine, you'd have to be very careful to make sure the bloody thing got you back to this time, you know. Um, yeah, don't get stuck there, you know. Anyway, I think that is it. I am going to put out the bins, which is the Monday evening duty. And yeah, I'll keep you posted, hoping, fingers crossed, to get copies of the Fornox monograph from the printer on Friday. If you haven't yet done so, you can pre-order it on the website. Of course, when I get copies, I'll be sending signed copies to anybody who orders it on the website. The link is coming there now. And just to mention, because we did mention it there, the calendar, you know, for the dates of the cross quarter festivals, you can actually pre-order the 2025 calendar. I'm a bit earlier than um, uh, uh, a bit earlier than um, I would normally. I think they normally go on pre-sale in October, so it's the end of July, and you can pre-order your 2025 calendar if you so wished, you know. Um, right, Adam, that's hilariously funny. Really, it is. Um, yeah, I haven't laughed this much in ages. I promise. Um, there you go. To everyone else, have a fabulous week. I hope that you um, uh, hang on a second. I hope you all have a fabulous time. And yeah, hopefully, the books will arrive, and I'll do something. Definitely, I'll do an unboxing for the patrons. So just again to share that link, and we'll see you all um, next week, but probably not Monday. And also, the other thing about next Monday is it is a public holiday. It's a bank holiday here in Ireland. So we might see you on Tuesday or Wednesday evening, but I will announce the exact time beforehand. So just keep an eye on the Facebook or the Instagram or the Twitter, whichever one you're on the Mythical Ireland social media channels. Anyway, it's been a pleasure. We had great fun. Lots of names in the Red Book. I actually don't write names in the Red Book at all, so you don't have anything to worry about. Nobody's staying behind for detention. And enjoy the last 3 bonbons, Lexi. And maybe I'll get some myself for next week's episode, you know. Brilliant. And Linda is looking forward to receiving her copy. Yes. And of course, as soon as we are able to, we'll get the pre-ordered copies out. A lot of those to go out because it's been on pre-sale, I think, since January. So it's been a while. But good things come to those who wait, right? Yeah, but looking forward to seeing it. Anyway, and get well soon. Yes, indeed, Nora. Get over that COVID, get it out of your system and get back out swimming in the sea. You know, clean out the lungs, as they say, and get healthy and well. I'll see you all next week. In the meantime, all that remains for me to say is Ichawa Kolosov Slón go fóil agus tóg go bugé. Take it easy.